Today, we are taking what might be the ultimate shortcut into strategic thinking by opening up Miyamoto Musashi's legendary text, The Book of Five Rings. And this isn't just some historical document, it's a genuine guide to victory, distilled by a man whose entire life was, well, defined by never losing a fight.
He really was a phenomenon. The sources, they all confirm it. He was a masterless warrior, a Runin from Harima province. And get this, between the ages of just 13 and 29, he fought 60 duels all across Japan.
60?
60. And here is the truly incredible part. He won every single one of them.
Yeah.
Just unbeatable, unmatched.
But that's the paradox, isn't it? Because those 60 victories, they weren't actually enough for him. As we dive into the sources, the story gets so much deeper once he hits 30.
It does.
He essentially looks back at 2 decades of flawless combat and realizes that his winning streak, well, it might have just been raw talent, or speed, or just luck.
Exactly. Not a truly mastered strategy.
No.
So he spent the next 20 years searching, really searching, for the absolute pure principle of strategy.
And he finally gets there.
He gets there. And he writes this book in 1645 when he's 60 years old.
Yeah.
And what makes this text so revolutionary is that he just explicitly rejected all the established wisdom of the time.
He says so himself.
Right in the text. He wrote that his strategy was independent. He wasn't relying on the typical lore, not Buddhism, not Confucianism, not any of the old war chroniclers.
So our mission today is to really understand that independent philosophy. We are not learning how to hold a katana here.
No.
We're trying to extract the philosophical foundation for life, for leadership, for conflict. That applies whether you're managing a team or just navigating a really challenging career path. We're getting the shortcut to his ultimate discovery.
So let's start at the beginning. The ground book. This is where he lays all his philosophical groundwork.
The foundation.
Exactly. He defines the warrior's way, the Bushi's path, as the twofold path of pen and sword. A warrior has to study both, the physical path of combat and the intellectual path of learning.
That dual mastery is so crucial, but he grounds the warrior's existence in a very specific mindset, which is a resolute, conscious acceptance of death.
Right. But he immediately clarifies this. This is not the passive sacrifice of, say, a peasant or a priest.
It's different.
Very different. The strategy of the warrior is focused relentlessly on overcoming men by victory gained in crossing swords. The value is in the outcome, the win, not just the moral stance.
And he puts this in context, right, by comparing the warrior to the other 3 walks of life.
He does. The farmers, the artisans, and the merchants each has their own way. So the warrior's core principle, then, has to be mastering the virtue of their weaponry and, he says, cultivating a taste for strategy.
So it's an intellectual craft.
As much as it is a physical one, yes.
But the true genius for the modern learner, I think, the moment that just cuts through all the history, is his central analogy for strategy.
The master carpenter.
The master carpenter. To explain how a master operates, Musashi uses a carpenter. Why does he start there with an artisan and not on the battlefield?
I think it's a purposeful demystification. He's making a statement that strategy is a practical craft. It's rooted in skill and planning, not just, heroic fate.
So the commander is the master carpenter.
Exactly. Both require a comprehensive plan of campaign or the master plan of the building.
And that analogy extends directly to leadership and how you deploy resources.
It does. The foreman, who is the commander, must know the natural rules, your raw materials, the country rules, the laws, the limitations, and the house rules, the structure of his own organization.
Total awareness, situational and internal.
But here is the most striking and maybe ruthless strategic detail for a modern leader. Talent deployment.
Okay.
Musashi breaks down exactly how different qualities of wood should be used. Straight, unknotted timber. That's for the revealed load-bearing pillars.
The most important parts.
Right. Timber with minor defects. You use that for the inner hidden pillars.
And what about the material that seems useless? The weak, knotted, twisted timber.
That's used for scaffolding during the construction. And then ultimately, as firewood, he finds a role for everything.
That is such a powerful, actionable insight. It's not just using your resources. It's like inclusive talent management.
In a highly disciplined way, yes. Use all available resources, all personnel, according to their inherent limitations. And critically, you ask nothing unreasonable of them.
So victory doesn't start with the fight.
Not at all. It begins with thorough planning, knowing your tools, and using all your people effectively. That's the deepest principle of the ground book.
And that foundation is now set. So Musashi builds the rest of his teaching using the 4 remaining rings, or books. It's a complete roadmap from here.
That's right. So if the ground book defined the viewpoint, the path, Then the next 4 give you the spirit, the fire, the comparison, and finally the ultimate truth.
So the water book is about the spirit, which has to be fluid-like water.
It adopts the shape of its receptacle. Sometimes it's a trickle, sometimes a wild sea.
And this focuses on technique and clarity of mind. Then the fire book is focused on fighting, on battle. The spirit is fierce, focused, like a burning fire.
Then you have the wind book, which is all about critique. He explains the strategies of other schools so you can define and know yourself by contrast.
And finally, the void book, the philosophical peak, that which has no beginning and no end.
The way of nature itself.
Okay, let's dive into that fluidity in the water book. The philosophical core here is something every leader needs to hear. The principle of strategy is having one thing to know 10,000 things.
It's brilliant. If you master the deep underlying principle, every single application just flows from it. True strategy, he insists, is not just found in sword fencing.
And he translates that immediately into internal discipline, take spiritual bearing.
He describes the optimal mental state as being determined through calm, meeting the situation without tension, but never recklessly.
He warns against being too up or too down.
Right. He warns against elevated spirit, which is weak because it's easily distracted, and low spirit, which is weak from a lack of resolve. You have to be centered, calm.
And this internal calm is reflected physically, even in the way you hold the sword.
The dead hand versus the living hand.
That's it. A dead hand is rigid, it can't adapt. But a living hand is pliable. The grip should be tight with the last 2 fingers for control.
But the thumb and forefinger should have a rather floating feeling. It's control, but without tension, ready to move instantly.
And this leads to what might be the most famous concept from the water book, the twofold gaze.
You have to train yourself to separate perception, which is strong, from sight, which is weak.
See distant things as if they're close, and take a distanced view of things that are close.
But the critical warning here, and this has such a modern strategic application, is where you fix your gaze. Fixing your eyes on the enemy's sword is weak.
Why?
Because you're only reacting to the immediate threat, to the movement. He says you must fix your gaze on the man's heart.
On their intent.
On their intent, their morale, their deeper weaknesses, their overall objective. Not just their immediate action. It's strategy over tactics.
Yeah.
If you see the sword, you lose the battle. If you see the heart, you win the war.
Even tiny details reflect this. His footwork, he says it should mirror normal walking.
No dramatic jumping foot or floating foot.
Right. The feet have to be honest to the ground, just adapting naturally to the enemy's rhythm and the terrain.
And this whole foundation of total awareness and calm control, it leads directly to his specific, memorable cutting methods. They're all about strategic adaptation. It's about timing, not just force.
Okay, like the flowing water cut. This is used when the enemy breaks and withdraws.
Instead of rushing in, you expand your body and spirit and you cut as slowly as possible, like stagnant water. It ensures certainty.
So it's slow victory over frantic chaos.
Exactly. Now compare that to the fire and stones cut. This is when your sword and the enemy's clash together. You don't recoil.
You accelerate.
You accelerate strongly. With hands, body, and legs all at once, cutting powerfully without raising the sword even a little, you turn that immediate contact into overwhelming momentum.
My favorite is the red leaves cut. It's about psychological timing.
It is. It means knocking down the enemy's longsword with this sticky, sustained feeling so they just drop it.
And it happens without conscious thought.
It's based on the principle of no design, no conception. The action is immediate, correct, and completely unhesitating.
That idea of action without hesitation, that transitions us perfectly into the fire book. Water book taught internal control. Fire book teaches us how to translate that into fierce, focused action.
The heat of battle.
Yes, and here, environment is everything. Musashi emphasizes establishing a predominant position.
Stand in the sun so it's at your back. Get on high ground, and always try to chase the enemy to their left side or towards awkward places.
Like thresholds, pillars, bad footholds. You use the virtue of the place to dominate.
And the ultimate goal in any battle is always to take the initiative. He defines the 3 methods to forestall the enemy, which really cover the entire spectrum of engagement.
Okay, so first is Ken no Sen, attacking to take the initiative.
This is proactive. You forestall him by attacking quickly, or maybe with reserve to draw him in.
Like a proactive market entry, you set the pace.
Right. Second is Tai no Sen, waiting for the initiative. This is reactive. You forestall him as he attacks by feigning weakness, then you dash in when he relaxes or overextends.
So you wait for a competitor to make a mistake, let them commit resources, and then you overwhelm their weak point.
Precisely. And the third is Tai no Sen accompanying the initiative. This is simultaneous.
Head on.
Head on. When both attack together, you have to strongly defeat him at his weak point, right there in the collision. It's where focus and training defeat raw momentum.
He also uses these more poetic, memorable concepts. To hold down a pillow.
Which is about suppression. It means checking the enemy's useful actions, checking his jump, checking his cut, but you allow his useless actions. You basically guide him into being inefficient.
And crossing a ford, that's about discernment.
Right, exactly. It means assessing the enemy's capability, their capacity, and then attacking their weak point from the most advantageous position you can find, like navigating a difficult sea road that only a master knows.
But the essential lesson of adaptation, I think, is the mountain sea change.
Absolutely. If you attempt an attack and it fails, you must not repeat it.
You just have to change.
You have to change the entire approach, not just the tactic. If the enemy is thinking of the mountains, you attack like the sea. If he's thinking of the sea, attack like the mountains. It demands total organizational flexibility.
Okay, so now we shift to the Wind Book, which is really just Musashi's ruthless critique of other fighting schools. We learn who he is by understanding what he rejects.
And he fundamentally dislikes anything that compromises adaptability or full commitment.
Like extra long swords.
He hates them. He calls it the inferior strategy of a weak spirit, because relying on distance shows a lack of courage, a lack of true principle. You're relying on geometry, not skill.
He also criticizes fixed attitudes or stances. He argues they're defensive, meant for garrisoning castles, not for a dynamic one-on-one duel.
In a duel, he says you have to adopt an attitude, no attitude. You should always just be intent on cutting.
Why reject fixed form so completely?
Because fixed form is rigidity. If you adopt a defensive stance, you've already signaled your intention and you've limited your options. The perfect strategist, like water, should be formless, ready to take any shape required.
And finally, he takes on the obsession with speed.
He argues that speed is entirely relative to rhythm. If you try to wield a longsword too quickly, you'll mistake the way. A master of strategy, he says, never appears busy.
They're deliberate.
Always deliberate, never out of time. Rushing leads to mistakes, but deliberate action leads to victory.
Which brings us to the philosophical peak, the Void Book. If strategy is perfected, it leads to the void. What is it?
It is not. He makes this very clear, merely nothingness or bewilderment, which is how lesser men mistake it.
Okay, so that's the key breakthrough for the learner. If it's not nothingness, what is it, practically?
The true void is achieved when the clouds of bewilderment clear away. You can think of it as the ultimate state of flow, or what modern psychology might call automaticity.
So the training is so complete.
So complete, you've studied all the martial and non-martial ways that the conscious mind just steps aside. Strategy simply flows, without hesitation, without self-doubt, without any clutter.
He describes it this way. In the void is virtue, and no evil. Wisdom has its existence. Principle has its existence. The way has existence. Spirit is nothingness.
It is a state of pure, correct action.
And that state is the path to achieving those core tenets he laid out way back in the ground book, those 8 principles of life.
Do not think dishonestly. Know the ways of all professions. Distinguish gain and loss. Develop intuitive judgment. Pay attention to trifles. Do nothing which is of no use. When strategy flows naturally from the heart, those principles are just realized effortlessly.
So, what does this all mean for you, the listener? The sources confirm the true purpose of this strategy is far, far beyond winning duels.
Oh, absolutely. It's about gaining the spirit of not being defeated, but in any context. Managing subordinates, governing the country, fostering the people, running a successful business.
But it demands long-term commitment.
A huge commitment. You must, step by step, walk a 1,000-mile road. Musashi's measure of success is personal. Victory today is over yourself of yesterday. Tomorrow is victory over lesser men.
The goal is just diligent training, so that strategy comes naturally, so you're able to win at will. Musashi took 50 years to find this principle, and the lesson seems to be that true mastery isn't about natural talent or luck. It's about a relentless, objective search for a principle that goes beyond your specific field. So, consider how applying Musashi's ruthless focus on clear, natural principles, that mix of the pen and the sword in your own chosen field, could lead you to that state of true void, where decision-making is immediate and correct, because all the clouds of bewilderment have finally cleared away.